I was holding a tray of champagne flutes when I heard my name echo across the auditorium, and watched the blood drain from their faces. Let me back up. My name is Linda, and I've spent 30 years building a career in law that most people only dream about. Federal judge. Constitutional scholar. The kind of resume that opens doors and closes arguments. But to my sons-in-laws, the Harringtons of Charleston, South Carolina, I was invisible. Or worse, I was the help. See, I'm a black woman who grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment in Detroit. My mother cleaned houses. My father drove trucks. I put myself through college working overnight shifts at a hospital cafeteria, then clawed my way through law school while raising my son, Marcus, as a single parent. The Harringtons? Old money. Country club. The kind of family that has a summer house and a winter house and acts like that's normal. And from the moment Marcus started dating their daughter, Claire, they made it clear, I wasn't their kind of people. If this story sounds familiar, tell me where you're watching from. Drop a comment, I want to hear your story too. It started small. It always does. Marcus graduated top of his class from Georgetown Law, my alma mater, actually, though the Harringtons didn't know that yet. The school was hosting an evening ceremony honoring distinguished alumni and emerging legal talent. Marcus was receiving an award. I got my invitation 3 weeks late. Not through the mail. Not from the school. From Marcus himself, sheepish and uncomfortable, telling me that Claire's parents had accidentally failed to pass along the invite they'd been asked to give me. Mom, I'm sorry, he said over the phone. They said they thought it was junk mail. Junk mail. An embossed invitation from Georgetown Law School of Law. I didn't argue. I simply said I'd be there. What I didn't tell him was that I'd already received my own invitation, directly from the dean. Because I wasn't just attending as Marcus's mother. But we'll get to that. The ceremony was on a Saturday evening in May. Washington, D.C., in full bloom, cherry blossoms gone but the heat not yet unbearable. I drove down from my home in Silver Spring, Maryland, wearing a simple navy dress and pearls. Elegant, understated. Professional. I'd learned long ago that you don't need to announce yourself when you walk into a room. Your presence does that for you. The event was held in the law school's historic Hart Auditorium, all marble columns and wood paneling, the kind of room that whispers legacy and power. There was a reception beforehand in the adjacent gallery. Wine, cheese, small talk. I arrived alone. Marcus had texted that he was running late from a meeting with his firm. Claire and her parents were already there. I spotted them immediately. Catherine and Robert Harrington. She was tall, a blonde, draped in something cream-colored and expensive. He wore a navy blazer with an ascot. An actual ascot. They were holding court near the bar, surrounded by other families, laughing at something Robert had said. Claire stood beside them, looking uncomfortable in a pink sheath dress. I walked over. Hello, Catherine. Robert. Catherine turned, and for just a second, her face went blank. Like she was trying to place me. Then recognition clicked, and her smile tightened. Oh. Linda. You came. Not how nice to see you. Not we're so glad you're here. You came. Like I was a surprise guest at a party I hadn't been invited to. Robert barely looked at me. He nodded, just a dip of his chin, and turned back to his conversation. Catherine, at least, made an effort. Well, this is lovely, isn't it? Such a special night for Marcus and Claire. Claire gave me a quick, tight hug. Hi, Linda. You look nice. I smiled. Thank you, sweetheart. You do too. Then Catherine did something I will never forget. She leaned in, just slightly, and lowered her voice. Linda, would you mind terribly? We're expecting a few more guests, and the catering staff seems a bit overwhelmed. Would you be a dear and help pass some of these trays? Just until Marcus arrives? I stared at her. She thought I was staff. No, worse. She thought I could be staff. That it was appropriate to ask me, the mother of the groom-to-be, to serve drinks at my own son's ceremony. Claire's eyes went wide. Mom, that's not. It's fine, I said, my voice even. I'm happy to help. If you've ever swallowed your anger to keep the peace, hit that like button. You'll understand what comes next. I took the tray. I don't know why. Maybe because I wanted to see how far they'd go. Maybe because I knew what was coming later, and I wanted them to dig their hole deeper. Or maybe because 30 years of being underestimated had taught me that sometimes, the best response is silence. I moved through the crowd, offering champagne. Catherine introduced me to no one. Robert ignored me entirely. At one point, an older man in a bow tie took a glass from my tray and said, "Thank you, dear," without even looking at my face. I smiled. You're welcome. Marcus arrived 20 minutes later. He saw me immediately, standing near the wall, holding an empty tray, and his face went pale. Mom, what are you? He looked at Catherine. Why is my mother holding a tray? Catherine blinked, all innocence. Oh, she offered to help. I thought it was sweet. She's not the catering staff, Marcus said, his voice rising. She's my mother. I know that, Marcus. Don't be dramatic. People were starting to look. I set the tray down on a side table and touched Marcus's arm. It's all right, honey. Let's just enjoy the evening. But it wasn't all right. And we both knew it. At 7 o'clock, the doors to the auditorium opened. We filed in as families, faculty, honored guests. The room seated maybe 400 people. The stage was set with a podium, a row of chairs for the speakers, and a massive screen behind them displaying the Georgetown Law School seal. Catherine steered Marcus and Claire toward the front. We have reserved seats, she announced, as if this were a Broadway show. I followed. The Harringtons sat in the third row, center. Prime seating. Marcus sat between Claire and me. Catherine was on Claire's other side. Robert beyond her. Catherine leaned across Claire and Marcus to speak to me. You know, Linda, this section is really for immediate family and honorees. I'm not sure there's enough room. She's my mother, Marcus said flatly. She's immediate family. Catherine's smile was thin. Of course. I just meant. She stays, Claire said quietly. It was the first time all night she'd stood up to her mother. Catherine sat back, lips pressed together. The lights dimmed. The dean of the law school took the stage. A short, energetic woman named Dr. Rashida Okafor. She welcomed everyone, spoke briefly about the school's history and mission, then introduced the evening's program. Tonight, she said, we honor not only our graduating students, but the legacy of those who came before them. We celebrate mentors, trailblazers, and public servants who have shaped the law and inspired the next generation. The first award went to a recent graduate who'd founded a non-profit legal clinic. The second to a professor retiring after 40 years. Marcus was next, the Rising Star Award for young attorneys making an early impact. He walked to the stage to applause. I clapped louder than anyone. Catherine leaned over again. It's wonderful that Marcus is doing so well. Claire's been such a support to him, you know? Our family connections certainly helped him land that position at the firm. I said nothing. Marcus gave a short, gracious speech. He thanked his professors, his colleagues, Claire. And then he looked directly at me. Most of all, he said, I want to thank my mother. She sacrificed everything to give me this chance. She worked 3 jobs to pay for my undergrad. She believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. Mom, everything I am, I owe to you. The audience clapped. I felt tears prick my eyes. Catherine shifted in her seat. Said nothing. If your parents sacrificed everything for you, drop a comment and tell them you love them. This moment matters. Marcus returned to his seat. The dean took the podium again. Our final honoree tonight, she said, is someone who has spent her career fighting for justice, equality, and the rule of law. She graduated from this institution 30 years ago, worked as a public defender, then a prosecutor, then a civil rights attorney. She has argued cases before the Supreme Court. She has mentored countless young lawyers. And last year, she was appointed to the federal bench. My heart started to pound. Catherine was checking her phone. Robert was stifling a yawn. Ladies and gentlemen, the dean said, please join me in welcoming the Honorable Linda Graves, United States District Court Judge for the District of Maryland. The room erupted in applause. I stood. Catherine's head snapped up. Her mouth fell open. Robert froze, his hand halfway to his pocket. Marcus was grinning, tears in his eyes. Claire looked stunned, but in a good way, like something finally made sense. I walked to the stage. I don't remember climbing the steps. I remember the dean's hand in mine, warm and firm. I remember the podium, solid beneath my palms. I remember looking out at 400 faces, and finding the Harringtons in the 3rd row. Catherine looked like she'd been slapped. I began. Thank you, Dean Okafor. And thank you to Georgetown for this incredible honor. 30 years ago, I sat in those seats as a single mother with a toddler at home and a mountain of student loans. I didn't come from money. I didn't have family connections. What I had was a belief that the law could be a tool for justice, and a stubborn refusal to let anyone tell me I didn't belong. I've spent my career representing people who were told they didn't belong. People who were overlooked, underestimated, invisible. I became a judge because I wanted to make sure that everyone gets a fair hearing. That no one is judged by the color of their skin, or their bank account, or the zip code they grew up in. I paused. Looked directly at Catherine. Because respect isn't about where you come from. It's about how you treat people when you think no one important is watching. The audience was silent. I'm honored to be here tonight. I'm honored to share this stage with my son, Marcus, who has already become the kind of lawyer I always hoped he'd be. And I'm honored to serve on the bench, where every day, I get to remind people that justice isn't a privilege. It's a right. The applause was deafening. I returned to my seat. Catherine wouldn't look at me. Robert's face was red. Claire squeezed my hand and whispered, I'm so sorry. Marcus leaned over and kissed my cheek. I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby. If this moment gave you chills, smash that subscribe button. You're going to want to see what happens next. The ceremony ended. People flooded into the reception area for the after-party. I was immediately surrounded, former students, colleagues, faculty members. Everyone wanted to shake my hand, take a photo, tell me about a case I'd ruled on or a lecture I'd given. Marcus stayed close. Claire stayed closer. The Harringtons hovered at the edge of the crowd, clearly unsure what to do. Finally, Catherine approached. Her smile was brittle. Linda. I had no idea. We had no idea. That I was a federal judge? That you were being honored tonight. Marcus didn't tell us. I glanced at Marcus. He shrugged. You never asked about Mom's career. Robert cleared his throat. Well. Congratulations. Quite an achievement. Thank you. There was a long, painful silence. Then Catherine tried again. We really should have dinner sometime. Get to know each other better. I'm sure we got off on the wrong foot. You asked me to serve drinks, I said quietly. At my own son's ceremony. You assumed I was staff. Her face went white. I didn't mean, it was a misunderstanding. No, I said. It wasn't. You saw a black woman in a room full of lawyers and assumed she couldn't possibly be one of them. You saw me and decided I was less than. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a choice. Robert stepped forward. Now, let's not make this into something it isn't. A federal judge is speaking, I said. My voice was calm. Even. And utterly final. You're going to listen. He stopped. I turned back to Catherine. I don't need your apology. I don't need your dinner invitation. What I need is for you to understand that your daughter married into my family, not the other way around. And if you want to be part of your future grandchildren's lives, you're going to learn to treat me with the respect I've earned. Catherine's eyes filled with tears. But she nodded. Good, I said. Now if you'll excuse me, I have people to speak with. I walked away. Later that night, Marcus and Claire came to my house. We sat in my living room, the same room where I'd studied for the bar exam while Marcus slept in a playpen beside me, and talked. I'm so sorry, Mom, Marcus said for the 10th time. I should have said something sooner. I should have stood up to them. You did stand up to them, I said. Tonight. When it mattered. Claire was crying. I'm so ashamed. I knew they were being awful. I just didn't know how to stop them. I took her hand. Sweetheart, you're not responsible for your parents' behavior. But you are responsible for yours. And tonight, you chose the right side. She nodded, wiping her eyes. Are you going to be okay? Marcus asked. With them, I mean. If you still marry her? I smiled. Marcus, I love Claire. She's smart, she's kind, and she makes you happy. Her parents are a work in progress. But that's not her fault. Claire laughed, a wet, hiccuping sound. They're calling this a teaching moment. My dad actually used that phrase. Good, I said. Let's hope they learned something. Comment below if you think people can change, or if some lessons come too late. In the weeks that followed, things shifted. Catherine sent flowers. Not an arrangement, an entire garden's worth, delivered to my chambers with a handwritten note. It didn't say I'm sorry. It said, I'm learning. I kept the flowers. Robert sent a donation to the legal clinic I'd helped found years ago. A large one. No note. Just a check. I deposited it. They started showing up to family dinners. Awkward at first, lots of forced smiles and stilted conversation. But gradually, something softened. Catherine asked about my cases. Robert asked about my clerkship. They listened. It wasn't perfect. It'll never be perfect. But it was a start. Claire told me later that her parents had started volunteering at a legal aid clinic in Charleston. That they'd had long conversations about privilege and assumptions and the things they'd taken for granted. I don't know if that's enough. I don't know if it ever will be. But I know this, people saw me that night. Really saw me. And the Harringtons will never look at someone serving drinks the same way again. 6 months later, Marcus and Claire got married. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. They held it in the gardens at Georgetown, full circle. Catherine and I walked down the aisle together. Both mothers of the bride and groom, side by side. We didn't hug. We didn't cry together. But we walked together. And when the officiant asked who gave Claire away, Catherine and Robert stood. And so did I. Because families aren't just born. They're built. And sometimes they're rebuilt. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button for more real stories about justice, betrayal, and second chances. Here's what I learned. Respect isn't given because of titles or robes or gavels. It's given because of character. Because of how you treat people when there's no spotlight, no audience, no consequences. The Harringtons saw me as invisible because they'd been taught that people like me don't matter. That we're interchangeable. Disposable. But I'm not invisible. I never was. I'm a federal judge. I'm a mother. I'm a woman who fought for every inch of ground I stand on. And the next time someone tries to hand me a tray, I'll smile, set it down, and remind them. I'm not here to serve you. I'm here to serve justice. If you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or made to feel small, this one's for you. Don't shrink. Don't apologize. Don't let anyone convince you that you're less than you are. Build your life. Earn your place. And when the moment comes, and it will come, stand up and let them see exactly who you've been all along. They'll never forget it. If this story hit home, drop a comment telling me your own moment of triumph. And subscribe, because there are so many more stories like this one, and you deserve to hear every single one. Thank you for listening. This is Linda, signing off. And remember, respect is earned. But dignity? That's yours from the start.